Today I felt called to talk about self-awareness as a parent and if we are showing up as the parent that we want to be. Hello and welcome to the Healing Mama podcast. I'm your host, Danny Bonsignor, and I am so thankful you are here today. I pray that I can help encourage you to feel, to love, to heal, and to help encourage you to view all of your experiences, your conversations, and interactions all through a lens of love. All right, welcome to episode 2. I am so excited to be here. I'm so excited to talk about this today because this is something that is so simple, but something that sometimes I think we just need to be reminded about. And I do have a little bit of a sore throat, so you will notice that in my voice this week. All right. I am discovering that sometimes it can be difficult for me to think or talk about things on such a public platform because change can be uncomfortable. And however, I do believe that vulnerability is a strength and uncomfortable conversation is important. If you follow me on Instagram, if you don't, then you can find me by just searching my name, Danny Bonsignor, or _healing mama. But if you follow me on Instagram, then you might know that I sometimes am big into sharing things or discussing topics that I'm sure a lot of people can be offended by. At the same time, I think that we do live in a time where everyone seems to be pretty easily offended. So, yeah, faith over fear, baby. Let's go. Healing is uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to acknowledge that what we are doing could be hurting our children, and it can be hard to change the way we see and do things, especially after a lifetime of seeing and doing things a certain way. There are a lot of challenging things we do each day. Some for our benefit and some not for our benefit, right? Like, it's hard to feel the feelings that may come after yelling at your child. And for a lot of us, our parents yelling was just a way of life. But it's not the life I want my children to grow up knowing. And I do believe it is possible to be at our wits' end without taking it out on those that we love. As a society, I feel we've normalized yelling at our children. We've normalized threatening our children and harsh disciplines, and for what? From what I have found by discussing this with others is that this has really only created resentment, anger, and pain. How many of us, my generation and the generations before us, how many of us have loving, fulfilling, open, and honest relationships with our parents? This starts when we are little, and do I think relationships can be repaired later in life? Absolutely. But as long as we are continuing to shame ourselves or get defensive about how we have handled certain situations, past and present, I don't believe this healing will ever have a chance to come to fruition. We have to forgive our parents. We have to forgive ourselves. We have to move forward. In order to show up as the parent we want to be, we first need to establish who that person is. Sitting down and thinking about this, writing it out, repeating it to yourself daily, especially in times of frustration, this all plays such an important role in being able to show up as the parent that we want to be. So who is that? When was the last time, if ever, that you sat down and really asked yourself, what kind of mom do I want to be? I know my listeners are majority women, but it's important for dads too. What kind of dad do I want to be? What kind of parent do I want my children to have? Eventually, our children grow up and they will start to figure out who we are, the kind of parent we are, the kind of spouse, friend, and overall person that we are. There are traits that they will acquire from us whether we want them to or not, and there will be things we do that they like or things they would like to do differently. They will grow up and they will either want to be like us or they will want to do things in their own way. Either way, we as their parents will have a huge impact on the person that they become. How we react to them, how we interact with them, how we interact and react with others. Choosing to be and do things differently than the way our parents did does not make our parents bad parents. It means they were human and they were doing the best they could with what they knew in the moment. Placing blame on our parents doesn't do anyone any good, just as placing blame on ourselves doesn't do us any good. I believe that the parents that we have are the exact parents we were meant to have, and that their faults and, more importantly, their strengths were needed to help shape us into who we are today. What if we viewed the purpose of our faults as a way to encourage our children to do things better and differently than we ever thought possible? I choose to believe that our children need our faults too. And when we believe they need our faults, then we can begin to be kinder to ourselves during our more unlovable moments. So many are parenting based on the now. And in the moments of frustration, we aren't thinking about how this will affect our child or our relationship down the road. Our children go through multiple phases, but that's just it, a phase. This too shall pass. But the relationship that we are building is forever. I get that we live in a fast-paced society and not many of us have a village to rely on, and we are tired. We are overworked. Our schedules are so jam-packed. Everyone is so busy living to keep up with other people, what they may think, and working towards these false pretenses of what it means to be successful. And we are forgetting to live for ourselves and love our children for who they are and not what society wants them to be. For me, success means happiness, and it has nothing to do with the amount of money you have. It means living a life that brings me joy and having fulfilling relationships with those that I love. So, how do we get there? How do we start to become the kind of parent that we want our children to have? First, we need to sit down and decide who that person is. Am I someone who yells out of anger or frustration? Am I quick to anger? Am I constantly criticizing my child? Am I causing my child to feel shame? Am I always placing blame? Am I using threats to get my child to comply? Am I a parent who cares about what my child has to say? Who encourages them to be who they are and not who I feel they need to be? Am I patient? Am I understanding? Am I quick to forgive? Do I have the emotional self-regulation and space to handle my child's emotions? Taking a moment to reflect on our current actions and which parts of us we like and want to continue, and which parts of us that we want to improve. Sitting down and taking a moment to think about it and write it down. I am, followed by the kind of parent that you want to be. I am patient. I am understanding. Maybe you would like to be slower to anger. Maybe you would like to be quicker to forgive. Writing down these traits on a sticky note and then placing them in areas throughout your home so that you are constantly being reminded of who it is you want to show up as until this becomes second nature for you. I personally like to write mine on all of the mirrors in my house with a dry erase marker, and every time I pass by a mirror, I make a point to stop, and I remind myself by repeating what I wrote out loud. First, figuring out who it is you want to show up as, then writing it down, and finally reminding yourself and acting this out every day, every moment until it becomes natural for you, until you are this person. I know for me, when I am in a challenging moment, especially if I am with my daughter and I just really want to scream, or I find that I am being really impatient and my mind is racing and I have a million things on my to-do list and it's hard for me to just be in that moment with her, repeating phrases such as, I am a patient mommy, I am an understanding mommy, over and over until the unwelcome feelings trying to surface have passed. I think it's powerful for her to see how I handle these moments. I talked a lot in my last episode about pausing and noticing our intent before we react. Knowing that the words we speak to our children now will become their inner voice is so powerful. And when we know better, it is up to us to do better. I will never claim that parenthood is easy. It can be challenging and it's messy, but it changes with every phase our children grow through. And it's just that, a phase, right? Whatever phase you are going through will pass. So how can we lead with love during the more challenging phases? How can we be a little more patient and a little more present? I get that we are busy and exhausted, and in a time where overstimulation and the constant need to go, go, go is seen as the norm, we have to be aware of what this is doing to our children and our relationships with our children. Being a parent while also building careers is not light work. But our children are our most important work, right? Whether you stay home or you leave for work, there has to be a way that we can be more intentional, more present, and more patient. Are we willing to let our exhaustion be an excuse for the kind of parent we are showing up as? Are we willing to do the work now for a life of love and genuine enjoyment with our children, for a life of emotional wellness in a time where suicide rates are crazy high and being depressed and anxious is the norm? How often are we taking a moment to rest and to allow ourselves a chance to feel how we are feeling and reflect on our actions so that we can figure out, is this a path I want to continue down? Which leads us back to asking ourselves, what kind of parent do I want to be? Am I the kind of parent who uses my circumstances as an excuse? Or am I the kind of parent who figures out a way even when I have no idea where to start? Am I teaching my children to be a victim of our circumstances, or that they have a choice in the life that they live? Having the courage to ask ourselves, am I happy? Do I do things that bring me joy on a regular basis? Do I love the parent that I am to my children? If the answer is no to any of these questions, then we have to take the time to figure out how to change this. We deserve to live a life that we love and enjoy. This doesn't mean that everything in our world is perfect and goes our way. It means accepting that everything goes the way it is meant to go. What kind of parent are my current choices causing me to be? What kind of parent am I allowing my circumstances to form me into? Is being exhausted causing me to snap at my children more than I would like? Is being unfulfilled causing me to be bitter? Is the lack of love I feel for myself causing me to place too much pressure on my children? Our children bring us so much joy and happiness, but they are not responsible for our joy and our happiness. We cannot be reliant on our children to fulfill the love that we crave and need. As a Christian and as a mom and someone who believes in God, and I know that that is where my fulfillment comes from and not from my children. Whether you believe in a God or not, it is not fair to expect our children to fulfill us. Our children make us happy, but they cannot be responsible for our happiness. We can preach to our children all day about how wonderful they are, because they are, but if we are demeaning ourselves, they will learn that this is how you treat yourself, and they may start to see themselves as you see yourself, no matter how much love and light you pour into them. We cannot teach our children how to love themselves until we first love ourselves. We can still, of course, love them, but that love may come with conditions whether we intend it to or not. When we are dependent on the love we receive from our children and those around us, will we ever truly be fulfilled? If we know that God loves us fully and unconditionally, isn't it only right that we love ourselves in that same light? We have to be kind and encouraging to ourselves so that we can extend that love to our children and to those around us. So let's talk about what might loving our children despite loving ourselves look like. It might look like criticism, being quick to anger, being slow to forgive, holding grudges, silent treatments. When we love ourselves fully and unconditionally, it is easier to respond with love in tough moments. When we are critical of ourselves, we are more likely to be critical of others. Criticizing our children only teaches them to criticize themselves and others, and then they may grow to criticize their children, and the cycle continues. I'm not saying all of this to make you feel bad, but now it makes sense why they say truth hurts. Because it does, but pain doesn't have to be shameful. Maybe you need to rest in the hurt so that you can acknowledge the hurt that our words cause our children. If not now, then later down the road. Acknowledging our imperfections is how we learn from them. If this makes you uncomfortable to listen to or to acknowledge, then ask yourself, why? Why is this making me uncomfortable? Why is this making me defensive? Why is this making me feel guilty? We can continue to be defensive and feel guilty, or we can channel this energy into figuring out why we feel this way and how we can help ourselves so that we can help our children. I want to help you, and I want to help you love yourself and your children, and to help you feel good about yourself at the end of the day, no matter what happened that day. I am not big on making excuses, because if we are looking for a way out of something, we will always find a way. But what if we channeled this energy in a different direction? Okay, I just want to take a breath. That felt pretty heavy. But heavy things are important and necessary. And it's okay to feel uncomfortable, because this is where change starts. Self-reflection is necessary, and thinking about who we want to show up as for ourselves and for our children is a really good starting point. I want to leave you with something to focus on for the next 2 weeks until my next episode. And I release a new episode every other Monday. So make sure to follow me on Spotify and turn on your notifications so that you don't miss it. But something that you can focus on that may seem really simple, but if you do this regularly, if you do this every single day, I believe this can really help. And I want to know if it does. So let me know in the Q&A box for this episode, or send me a DM on Instagram at _healingmama. For the next 2 weeks, I want you to, after you react in a way that you are not proud of, if you are someone who yells, or if you can be really critical, or if you are someone who might sit in your negative thoughts for too long, and maybe you are quick to shame yourself. When we think negatively, we will continue to think negatively. And when we shame ourselves after hard situations, we will continue to find reasons to shame ourselves. And this is the love that we think we deserve. But I want you to know that you don't deserve this. You don't deserve to feel shame and guilt. You are human. Making mistakes is all part of the experience. How can we grow and do better if we never fail? How can we encourage failure if we shame ourselves at every opportunity? We deserve kindness, and we deserve love, and when our children make mistakes or our children have hard moments, they deserve our love and our kindness as well. And so if we can just learn how to respond to ourselves in a loving manner, this will become easier for us to respond to our children in that same light. No more mom guilt. With guilt comes shame, and you don't deserve to feel shame. No matter how you react, and no matter how poorly you think you handled a situation, you are deserving of love. And when that voice in our head learns to speak in a forgiving and loving manner, it becomes easier to extend this to our children. So for the next 2 weeks, I really want you to focus on pausing and refusing to think about yourself negatively, no matter the situation or how much you feel like you may deserve it. I want you to instead say, I love myself. I forgive myself. I am the perfect mom or dad for my child. And I am wonderful. And leave it at that. Let this be the inner voice that we pass on to our children. I know that pausing and acknowledging where we are coming from takes practice, and this isn't something that happens in a day. So make sure and be patient with yourself. You are doing great, and remember that our children need our faults too. It takes practice, and every time that we react in a way that we aren't proud of, this is an opportunity to be kind to yourself and to grow. So, in closing today, let's just repeat the words I mentioned a minute ago, because these are really powerful. And when you start saying these words after a negative reaction, you might just be amazed at what happens. I love myself. I forgive myself. I am the perfect mom or dad for my child. And I am wonderful. Until next time.